Rad, when we were talking about your journey and when you were mentioning this idea of sitting with yourself and being present, I recall in one of your sentences you said it's about accepting the pain, accepting the pleasure, right? Could we unpack that for a second? Like, what is it exactly that we should be doing? Like, of course, as humans, and because we have like a 1,000-year-old brain, right, we have the same inclinations, right? Like hunger, fear, maybe like intimacy. What were you intending on sharing with us when you were mentioning that we have to embrace the pleasure, accept the pain?
Yeah. If you go down the meditation pathways of Buddhism or Taoism, acceptance and equanimity are like at the top of the list for the practice. And maybe you've had experience with that. But basically, if you sit down and meditate and you have a good session, quote unquote, you're like, yes, I got it. I know meditation now. Or you go to jujitsu and you beat up everyone. Yes, I got it. I'm the shit. You just bench press 225. Yes, I got it. Then you go in the next time, you're like, wow, I'm so weak. Everyone beat me and I can't sit and meditate. So you're like oscillating between these emotions of I'm the shit, I'm the great, this is so good, to man, I suck, this is terrible. Why am I even doing this? And you're oscillating between these emotions. This in Chinese medicine consumes your qi, your life force. Emotions, like they're just consuming. They're not building. So a lot of times people will do a breath work, holotropic, kundalini, all this stuff, and they get like a pleasure kick out of the meditation, and they're seeking some sort of nirvana, enlightenment, awesome experience. And I talk to people so much, like, yeah, it was like so great, I blew up into God and all this. I'm like, it doesn't matter, man. Like, it's missing the point. So equanimity basically just means acceptance of whatever good or bad thing is happening without reacting to it. And so you really need that practice skill, just like lifting weights in the gym, to be able to observe your emotions when you're heightening or when you're lowering, and to just accept that state. And that acceptance of the state helps to process whatever's going through so it doesn't clog the system. So the practice I usually give, have you ever done Vipassana style meditation or
No.
heard of it?
Um, I've heard of a meditation called Jyoti meditation. I could share a little bit about it before later on. But Vipassana, it is new to me.
Okay.
Right.
So it's a Buddhist tradition meditation, and there's a style called a Goenka retreat based on this guy, S.N. Goenka, who basically created a really beautiful way to share meditation for free. And so there's about 50 centers in the world. They're nonprofit. It's all volunteer based and all donation based. Each one of them runs as their own unit. And essentially, if you go there, it's 10 days, 10 hours a day of silent meditation. You don't look at anyone, you don't talk to anyone, you don't read, you don't write. They give you food, and basically you just sleep, eat, and you sit and meditate. And so a big part of it is just not moving as you meditate. And generally, when that happens, pain will arise in people's bodies from not moving, and you just have to sit and try not to suffer through it in a sense. Because your mind will go, this sucks, move, move, move. Why am I doing this? Skip, and all like the worst thoughts and everything will come to the forefront. And it's just like going to the gym and lifting weights. You know, if this cup weighs 10 pounds and it's difficult for me to lift, every object in the world is going to be really like draining and taxing on me physically if I'm weak. Okay? But if I take the responsibility to go to the gym and like, this is heavy, this sucks, and I consistently commit to building the muscle and the strength, then everything around me is very light relative and it doesn't drain me. So same when I just sit with myself and have to like, dude, it's fine, doesn't matter, just it's fine, and like not psych yourself out constantly or think about the future or get lost in the past. And it's a skill, just like lifting weights in the gym. A beginner will like shake and throw and can't do anything, it looks ugly, and they might hurt themselves. It's the same thing with meditation, but eventually it gives you that skill of non-reactivity where someone cuts you off, someone yells at you, something good happens, something bad happens, and you don't just jump into it. And it's a really, really important skill. You know, your girlfriend's breaking up with you and you're like, oh God, and you can just sit there and not yell back and not be angry and just diffuse the situation. That's unclogging the system. That's removing the emotional damage that's hitting your intestines or whatever disease you're building. So it's really important to, oftentimes people talk about the pain side of it, the suffering, but the pleasure side is equally important. If someone's addicted to drugs, alcohol, cigarettes, they're going to keep chasing that emotion. So pleasure in that sense, you can enjoy pleasure and enjoy it, but don't get sucked into it. You can be depressed and have it, but don't get sucked into it and stuck. All those emotions are there for a reason. They're temporary, but if we prolong them, so in Chinese medicine, excessive emotions and prolonged emotions are the cause of disease. So if I keep bringing up this thing in the past, or I keep worrying about this thing in the future, it's consuming my chi, my life force, and I don't have enough to basically keep healing myself properly. Or if I take a huge hit, big trauma right in the moment, that's obviously going to take a lot of chi as well.
Right. That's fascinating, dude. And before we hit record, I was sharing a little bit about and dude, it's like everything you're saying. I feel like it really does. It would resonate with him because it was around his examination time, like when he started these exams. There's always like this pressure because he has to do basically like 4 accounting exams in like 18 months. And if he doesn't finish the 4 exams within the 18 months, if he only did like 3 of them, then at the end of the 18 months, he has to do the 4 again. Right. So it's like he has to do all 4 at once. So because of that very high stress, I think that he was definitely in a place where he was bottling emotions and he wasn't able to, maybe have that stoicism, but also that open-mindedness to just accept that stress and just let it flow through, where you were just bottling it up. And I think that went hand in hand with his flare-ups of ulcerative colitis. But yeah, I'm definitely going to share more about you with him, man. He's super interesting. But dude, going back into the meditation, it's so interesting because I was actually very lucky to grow up in under the guidance of this spiritual teacher. And it's so interesting because, as you said, the science of enlightenment, his mission the name is very similar. It's called the science of spirituality. And it's interesting stuff. And he, by profession, I believe he's an electronics engineer. We went to AT&T Labs, and he's basically pretty well known when it comes to like the touch screen, like the touch screen technology. Like he was one of the people who helped and pioneered that development. But what because of his forefathers, he had an influence of spirituality, and over time, his career it went into spirituality, meditation, healing from within. And he actually came out with this book called Meditation as Medication. Super interesting guy. He even has this book called Detox the Mind. And he basically reminds me a lot about you because he really talks about how sitting within, and he's the one who taught me about Jyoti meditation, where he, again, just like your meditation, it's like you sit in silence, you don't move. And he kind of has this thing where he looks 8 to 10 inches ahead of himself, through there's basically like different zones or chakras in the body. You probably know 1,000 times better than me, but he talks about how there's like I wouldn't say basically a 10th door here, and he's like, if you focus and you have a gaze 8 to 10 inches ahead of you, it's like you can kind of find like a focal point here, and so it's like you're thinking of just that point. And he has this these holy words that he has us repeat, so our mind, just like you're saying, it doesn't go like here, there. It's like going in like a loop. And he talks about how this meditation, it is truly medication for a lot of ailments, because one thing that it's doing, what you're talking about, is it helps you heal and first be present with yourself, but also give your body a chance to just slow down and self-introspect and relax. So it's super interesting stuff, like, because it really is mind over body in a certain capacity, and how you were talking about how it goes from physical to emotional to spiritual. It's like, maybe it's like signs in my life, but I'm learning more about it in my journey as well. So yeah, super interesting stuff. I'll tell you more about it, bro, later on.
Yeah, it's interesting you bring that up. There's many ways to look at it. Meditation can be useful for those things, as you say, but in my mind, when I hear the word, there's a lot of words like yoga, like qigong, like tai chi that have been co-opted and bastardized, frankly, and transformed into something that is not at all what the thing is. So, in the word of meditation, the original practices, there were nothing about health. It wasn't about getting rid of anxiety or healing your gut. And obviously, these things have helped me in that sense. And it depends on what you're trying to get with it. But the originality of it is spiritual enlightenment, right? Our physical bodies are not the be all end all, they're a part of it. But these practices were not meant to heal any particular ailments. So I would encourage people to use them, but to not get stuck and fixated on one thing. So like I'm gonna do qigong to heal my gut. Brad, what's the qigong to heal the gut? I'm like,
Yeah,
it's not really how it works. It's a whole system. You can't just like paint the kitchen and install new things in the kitchen and somehow the rest of the house is gonna function. Like you got to start from the foundation, the ground floor. You need to build chi, build energy, calm the mind, and then things unfold on their own from there. So it's, yeah, I don't know how much you want to go into that, but like with yoga, even with the chakras, there's just so much erroneous things out there at this point. And not that I know everything about everything, but it's yeah, it's a wild world out there.
that's crazy. I mean, yeah, I mean, it's so interesting. It's like, at the end of the day, the reason why people do stumble upon these eternal gifts that I believe the universe or the creator has gifted us to understand ourselves more. I believe we stumble upon them when we are in like a time of crisis, right? When we are looking for answers. And so even though the health improvements is not the end all be all, it's not the eternal solution that we truly need. It's because of that where we're like, okay, let's explore, let's take this endeavor, whether it's like our spiritual journey, to figuring out who we are, why we're here, what's the purpose of all this. And it's super interesting stuff, man. Coming back though, Rad, sorry, were you about to say something? I saw you about to.
Oh no, yeah,
Yeah, I love it. Going back to healing, right? When it comes to gut health, even in your personal life, how did you see? Because one thing is, like, at the end of the day, people usually get convinced to try something when there's like a proof, when there's a proof of concept, right? How powerful was meditation, self introspection, and your spiritual practices in healing your gut? Like, maybe if you can talk about like timeline, like how soon it was, and just to give us a clearer idea of what that process could look like if we were to hop on this train and really focus on root cause healing versus the conventional route, which has left a lot of people in the mud, hopeless.
yeah. That's a great question. Remind me that I do want to come back to physical stuff too,
Oh, dude,
for
100%.
meditation stuff. But in terms of the spiritual, I'm just trying to remember when I first did it. 2022, I think. I did my first Vipassana, and that's where I really started to understand, like, oh, okay, this takes a lot of time. And I know people, I want to tell people, it took me like 6 months to a year, which is, I would say, approximately actually what it took. But I was like going hard on it. And I was afforded the opportunity when you do have Vipassana, it's 100 hours straight. It's like you're you're fitting in multiple years at that point in like 10 days, depending on people's ability to sit and do it. And you're really like, sometimes it's up, sometimes it's down, but because you're in an environment with 100 other people and it's just like supporting that state. Basically, the first time I did it, till day 7 or 8, Just a quick, so Vipassana, the general technique is you scan your body from up to down, and you put your mind and your awareness on the skin. And when you put that much awareness on the skin and the sensations, you start to notice like very tiny subatomical sensations that you were not aware of before. And they're always happening throughout your body. But now you're like building a system to feel that level of sensation. And so you'll notice when you have a thought or something, you'll like your senses light up like crazy. And you can feel even more so where the thing is happening. And so this process of the scanning, coming up and down, you're gaining insight into reality. Like your body is the only thing you can observe reality with. And I can't observe the particles inside this computer with, like, I can go with a microscope, but I'll never understand it to the depth that I can close my eyes, observe the sensations and all the little atoms of my own body vibrating in and out. And in Vipassana and Buddhism, the idea of non-permanence, I'm so close, the word is like slipping my mind, anicca, I think that's the word for non-permanence. Man, I hope that's not incorrect. But basically, right now you're looking at me and there's like a light source hitting me. And our perceived vision of this is the light is stable. It's non-changing. But the reality is it's like little photons shooting through the air at crazy amounts of speed that it looks like it's static and nothing changes. So in our lives, we have this presumption that nothing changes. Yeah, this person's going to be alive forever. This is going to be like that. And very slowly over time, you look in the mirror like, wow, things changed. And when you have the Vipassana practice, you can observe the changes in the moment. Basically, all our atoms are blinking in and out of existence at high vibrational speeds, and we're 99% empty space. If we listen to science, 99.9% we're just empty space, but we appear physical. And so when you can tune into that, insight starts to arise. And the process there is like, when your mind goes inside and you go to a deep level, a whole bunch of shit gets released to the surface and you're clogged again. And as that stuff comes up, it hits your mind and you remember, oh man, I was really bad to this person. I did this thing I really regret. And all these negative things that you didn't process at the time. You get to now sit there for hours thinking about it. So like the worst things over and over. I'm like, God, oh. And then by day 7 or 8, it would like come up. It's like, okay, you know what? I've kind of processed that and accepted it, and it doesn't create the same deep stimulation. So my first experience was very much like that and learning. And then a year or two ago, I did another one, and it was completely different. I was able to sit because of the process and the practice that I could just sit. And memories that I hadn't thought about for 20 years, I'm like, things you never remember ever, just like come up, boom, you see it, and you can immediately release like, oh, yeah, that's a thing, let it go. Oh, yep, that's a thing, let it go. Oh, yep, that's a thing, let it go. And it's like you almost like pull out a library of old memories that are stuck in the system, and they come up to be processed. And if you have the skill, you process it. If you don't, you hold on to it and you keep looking at it. So, yeah, that was my process in unlocking that part. Useful, but I do a different practice at this point. That's almost completely different, but not. But for my process and what needed to happen, that was just sit, don't move, accept whatever's coming through, and let it go.
Wow, man, that's so fascinating. Like, so basically, did you experience like of course, one aspect was you were trying to kind of probably a part of it was just trying to like find meaning, right? In like maybe in life, but when it came to like these gut issues, did you feel like a significant improvement after Vipassana sessions?
Uh, I want to say yes, but the
Oh,
food that they feed there, which is why I also want to talk about the physical, it's a vegan and heavy carbs and like not gut supportive foods. So you're encouraged not to eat too much. I think I was totally fine the second time. I don't remember exactly the first time, but yeah, it's not exactly the food of choice I would give people if I wanted them to meditate and have a good gut health during the
got you.
process. And I was there for the spiritual practice. It wasn't necessarily to heal the gut, but I had an understanding. Okay, Chinese medicine, emotions, that's going to help the process. But it was more from a spiritual perspective.
That's super interesting, man. That's super interesting. So when it did, what And so when it did come to, because I know like IBS, blood in the stool, that was an issue. What was the moment in your journey where you're like, okay, I am feeling 1,000 times better now?
It's so hard to say exactly the moment. It's a process. I think I always believed that I would heal myself, and so anytime I got a glimpse of like, wow, my stomach doesn't hurt today, it's healed, and then the next day it would hurt. Like, okay, it's not healed, but it's okay. Like, there was a moment, something happened, and it healed. And when you do these things and these processes, and I'm sure, I don't know, have you ever done psychedelics?
I have not had the opportunity. No.
Yeah, I'm not here to promote it, and I haven't done it in several years. But that was also a major part of accepting that I had emotions inside of me and seeing them and experiencing them and going, wow, okay, this is important. So sitting with psilocybin mushrooms, large doses, many times, and like crying and processing, and when you're on that heightened state and you go back to a memory where like, man, that really sucked, that was so bad, and it's maybe 2 minutes goes by, but it feels like 20, 30 minutes. You're like face to face with that person in the state, feeling it. And when you go higher dose, your filter stops or your ego doesn't protect you anymore. And you're there experiencing the fullness of the emotion on the heightened state. And that also accelerates. But if you don't have any training, equanimity, sense clarity, sitting with it, it can be scary. You have a bad trip. You want to avoid it. Whenever I would go through one of those, it's just like taking a massive dump emotionally and feeling so much lighter after, even though you just went through a journey of darkness in it. Yeah, I want to say it was a 5 year process because for five years basically I was trying to do everything I could, but that last year where I had all the physical things in place, that I cleared the emotional and mental, and it's not like you do it once and it's done. It's like you're constantly being bombarded with emotional debris and waste and trauma. You need to stay on it. It's like going to the gym. If you stop going, you're gonna get weaker.